The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Shadow Drop Remastered. Todd Howard, out from the shadows like the Dark Brotherhood, ready to snatch up your sweet roll, but he's replacing it with a good remastered version of the best Elder Scrolls game. Yeah, I said it. I think this is the best one. I do. Okay? I love Morrowind. I love Oblivion. Skyrim never really hit as hard. It never really hit as hard for me, you guys. Let's give the Oblivion Remastered a fair review. We just finished it. Well, we finished the main story a few days ago, and now we've been doing the Shivering Isles. But we've now done, I don't know, I'm probably like 30, 40 something hours. This wasn't like an exhaustive 100% playthrough or anything like that. I didn't scour the map. We did all of the arena. The arena quest line was totally finished and done. We did the vast majority of the Thieves Guild. We're doing stuff for the Grey Fox now. We did all of the Dark Brotherhood, and we're in like the Black Hand quests now. I did various of my favorite little side quests, like the one where you go into the painting to find the elf guy. The Paranoid Glethier. Yeah, you got 80 hours, minor baby. Yeah. Yeah, get your reviews in the chat. Let me know what you guys think of this. Now, so, full disclosure. I loved this game when it came out, but I have not played it since. I have not turned this on, a few years ago to check it out or anything. So, I have not played Oblivion since like 2006 or 7. So, when the Shadow Drop came out, I was like super excited to check it out, okay? Because it was my favorite one. It really was. And so, I know Skyrim's a great game. I got nothing against Skyrim. But there's just something about Oblivion that hits so much better for me than Skyrim. It pulled me in way more, and then Skyrim never really pulled me in the same way, even though I can acknowledge it's good and it does a lot of things better, But for me, I just love the world and the quests and just the whimsy fantasy style of everything in Oblivion. It's the best, okay? So, this remaster, it's it's like a Frankenstein beast, right? Who's the developer again? Somebody remind me the developer. But this is like a really unique experiment here, which worked out way better than I would have expected. What they've done is they've kept the original engine, to my knowledge. They've kept the original main core engine the same, but then they've used Unreal Engine 5 to enhance all the visuals and change all the visual stuff. And they've also done a few other improvements too, like with the combat minimally and, stuff like that. But so you've got like two engines that they've like duct taped together here, which sounds like a recipe for disaster. Virtuos is the studio. Yes, thank you. Who I now know is the dev who is making the Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta remake. And so that does give me quite a bit of hope for the Delta MGS3 remake, because I'm just going to say it right out of the gate here. This is a very, very good remaster. It is. It's very good. I know you may have heard conflicting opinions and all this, and I don't think it's perfect by any stretch. I will tell you the things that I don't like, but just by large, this is a very good remaster. In fact, I think this might be like one of the best remasters I've done. Now, everybody's saying, oh, it's more of a remake than a remaster, and yeah, I could see you kind of going both ways with it. I mean, it does have a new engine. It's using Unreal Engine 5, but when you play it, this is the thing. It looks so good. Like, the visual remaster of Oblivion is a 10 out of 10 visually, man. It looks so good, okay? The minute you play it, though. So when you see videos, you're like, wow, that's a complete remake. That's more of a remake than a remaster, But when you play it, is when you realize it's still Oblivion. It just looks really good, okay? So to me, it's definitely a remaster more than a remake, at least in my opinion. Because one of the things that is just the most dated still is the combat and the way it feels. Now, they have done some things. They've done some things to improve this. There's better like hit, like you feel it when you hit the enemies more. They've added a sprint with like the stamina draining sprint now, which actually goes a long way, even more than you'd expect, to just making the game feel more modern and everything. They did revamp the leveling system to a degree. I even went back and checked out the original game just to kind of compare and contrast, and they did change some things. It's not as annoying as it used to be, where it was like you could only level up using those core skills you picked or however it was before. Now you've got, I don't know, like now you've just got more of a way to casually level up and play, even when you're leveling up the minor skills, and it just works a lot better. It's still a little weird because you have to sleep in a bed to level up, and you can only level up once per sleep. So like if you've leveled up like 3 times, you have to like sleep in a bed 3 times back to back to back. So like it's like they didn't clean everything up. They kept a lot of it very true to form, but they did fix certain growing pains, I feel like. And like I said, the leveling system didn't annoy me this time around at all. I didn't even think about it. It just felt way more easy to go with the flow. It's kind of like they have got a mix of the Skyrim leveling system mashed up with Oblivion. It's like a hybrid, kind of, you know, like the engine. It's a Frankenstein in many ways. But let's get down to it, okay? The things that this remaster does good is everything in the visual department. Now, I know some people, when it was coming out, were like, oh, I don't like the color palette. It's no longer green and like saturated and all this. You know, I don't care. I think this is so much better. I do love the original. I've got nothing against the way it looks. I still think it looks good. This is better in every single way, okay? Just because it went from like vibrant, bright green to a little bit more of a, you know, subtlety and fall kind of colors here and there. And there's like there's more variety with some of the climates going from the snow to the fall to the green. I love it. I have no issues with it. I love the way it looks. Everything from the towns to the water to the characters and the faces. I think they look great. In fact, I think they nailed the faces. They somehow nailed it to where it's like still the awkward, like uncanny faces, but they just look better graphically and newer. And I think they really nailed like the lizard reptilian people, the Argonians, and the Khajiit, the cat people look way better. The orcs, I think, look way better. All that stuff is great, okay? Everything about the visuals, I think, is a 10 out of 10. So Virtuos, 10 out of 10 on the visuals. But that came at a cost, you guys. Because I'm sure that you've heard about the performance issues. And you know what? I hate to say it's true. So I should have said before, my whole playthrough was the PlayStation 5 Pro. Okay? And it was supposedly supposed to get like a boost for the Pro, but I don't know what it did. It didn't seem like it did anything because this game does not run good, dude. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. It's bad. One of my main complaints of this entire remaster, which I think is a great remaster overall, is the performance. And I've heard people had similar problems on PC as well. So I know it's not just the PS5, but like when you're in a cave or in a building, the frame rate's pretty damn good. It's pretty solid. I played a performance mode the entire time. So I had it set to prioritize the frame rate over the visuals, but it still didn't matter. Unfortunately, it just didn't matter. Like I even set to prioritize the frame rate, it would chug when you're walking around the open world, or if there was several enemies on screen, it would be dropping down to the 30s and 40s. Constantly. And so I absolutely did not like that. You know, like if you're going to have a performance mode, it needs to at least try to target 60. So that was, I thought it was getting better. Like I thought they even patched it a few days in. Like when I first went into an Oblivion gate, it just tanked. We were getting like 30 FPS maximum the whole time. And so the visuals and the way that they put this together did come at a cost, man. It's coming at that Unreal Engine frame rate cost where I think the game loses a couple points for me because of that. It does. Because we're talking about a game that came out in like 2006, and this is the remaster, right? bare minimum, I should be able to run this on newer consoles or whatever, 60 FPS or more if I want to. That should be the minimum at an old game like this, right? Or for an old game like this. So that was not good. A couple other tiny nitpicks. A couple nitpicks that I do have related to the physics and just how everything feels. Thankfully, a lot of the stuff has remained the same, where you can still pick up you can still pick up enemies or items and look at them and, you know, move them around in the world. Like, you can still do all that. So you can still do all that, and I think that's great. But for some reason, some of this has been lost in translation, and I don't know exactly why. I just have theories, okay? So, for example, when you kill an enemy, and this goes for any enemy in the game, but just take a mud crab, for example, like I showed you guys earlier. If you kill a mud crab, you can't hit the body anymore once it's dead. It's like the minute the enemy dies, it no longer has physics with your weapon. I can't hit the body, and it doesn't react anymore. You know what I mean when games do that? This game does that. The original does not. The original, you can smack it around and hit the legs around and play with the physics. For some reason, that doesn't happen here, and I don't know why. And then other physics-related items don't have physics anymore. Take the scales, for example. You might remember, all throughout Oblivion in the world, there'll be scales on the tables. And I feel like they were in the original Oblivion to kind of flex the physics engine. You know? Because in the original, you'd walk in and you'd find a scale on the table with coins, and there's even weights. They even have individual items that are weights for the scales that you can pick up and interact with. And in the original, if you drop something on the scale, it does bloop, like it does what you'd think with the scale. And much to our dismay here, when we were playing the remaster, the scale is just one static item now. It's like one asset. It doesn't move up and down. There's no physics. And so you can just take that critique and apply that across the rest of the game world. Okay? So if you're one of those people that is in my comments that's like, why do you care? Who cares about that? Then you're not going to be bothered. Okay? But just know that that remains consistent across everything in this game compared to the original. Like, some of the signposts you can still jump into and they move. But a lot of the lights that used to like hang from a chain that would dangle, they're just like concrete now. You know, they're just concrete. So they didn't, it's like, my theory is they remade, because we know that they did remake entire assets. They did. From scratch. So my theory is they remade some of these assets, but they didn't go through the extra mile of adding the physics back, or, you know, something like that. So to me, it's a bigger deal than you think, because they kind of add up. These things add up. So just one of these little things isn't a big deal. Like, in fact, on all of my videos where I talk about these things, there's plenty of people in the comments like, who cares? You'll find anything to complain about. Blah, 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 right? Just don't talk about it. Just enjoy the game, which is just stupid, bro. Because this is a great remaster, but I'm not going to just like zip it and not talk about things I'm noticing, right? So when you find one of these things, like the scale doesn't work. Okay, sure, who cares, right? You don't even use the scale in the game, whatever, right? But then the body, like I said, of the mud crab or any enemy, it's like you can't hit it anymore after it's dead. So then that kind of adds another thing onto it. And then the lamps with the chains don't move, and then it adds. So they just kind of add up. These are a bunch of little things that add up. What's up, TIO? Good to see you, bro. And so, like, I don't know, man. It's just kind of like, are they silly and non-consequential in a lot of ways? Like, sure, of course, okay. But they also added a lot to just the overall world and just the playground sandbox of Oblivion. And one of the best things about Oblivion is the playground sandbox and all the wackiness and the stuff you can do, you know? And I remember doing weird stuff like that. And so it's like they kept some of it. I'm happy you can still pick stuff up and move it around and all this, but they didn't maintain all of it, okay? But thankfully, just to reiterate what I was saying earlier, I do think that they have kept the core vibe of Oblivion the same, which is very impressive, because it felt like lightning in a bottle, you know? The original Oblivion really did just feel like this culmination of all these weird things that just came together to work. The weird radiant AI, the weird character faces, the funny and goofy dialogue and wonky bugs that would happen. That was like this perfect storm that all just came together to make this like unforgettable experience, right? And somehow that totally is retained. I'm telling you, it is. It is. And that's why I think this is a good remaster overall. We were still laughing at all kinds of goofy stuff, all kinds of wonky AI stuff. The faces are still funny and weird in their own new way now. All of that shit, I think they just nailed, and they should be applauded for that because it's amazing. And before we go further into this review and kind of get closer to the final verdict here, this is the best way to play Oblivion. It is. So regardless of what I said about the physics and the little nitpicks, this is the best way to play Oblivion. I think the pros vastly outweigh the cons. They do. And hopefully down the road, if we get a couple patches and the performance gets better, it's just definitely the best way to play the game. It is the way that I would recommend to play it for anybody, new people or people that have played it before. And that's the other great thing. I think one of the greatest achievements of this Oblivion remaster is the fact that maybe people that never played Oblivion, like they started with Skyrim and they never went backwards, now have a good reason to come back and experience it. That's the best thing about this remaster, in my opinion. It gives them an excuse and a reason to spend some time in this world here, okay? I personally think it's better than Skyrim. I do. Obviously, it's a little bit more dated than Skyrim, even though Skyrim's already dated now, right? But the combat in Skyrim is a little bit better, and there is just some newer stuff in Skyrim that is better. But for my money, I just love the world of Oblivion, the quests of Oblivion, the dialogue, the whole vibe of Oblivion more than Skyrim. So for me, this remaster is now my favorite Elder Scrolls game. It's gotta be. The other thing that we just can't forget, that is thankfully just completely untouched, is the soundtrack. I have not gotten tired of this soundtrack for decades at this point. And the entire time playing through this game, it was absolutely amazing. All the songs and the memories just come flooding back, and it still just somehow fits everything you're doing in this world perfectly, man. The way that it ebbs and flows and comes in and out at different times, it's so amazing. You'll just be walking through the woods with the stars and all these little firefly colors, and those pianos start coming in nice and slow. It is amazing, dude. I really think it is one of, what's his name again? Is Jeremy Soules? Am I saying that right? It has got to be in the top 10 video game soundtracks of all time, bro. So everything about the core identity of Oblivion, I think remains the same. I mean, look at this guy's goofy face. It's so funny. Everything remains the same, other than just the visuals have been way improved. For better or worse, because the frame rate, you know, and the arena was just revamped. Like all the quests you remember are just better than they were, but they did not fix. Now I'm going to get to just a couple other nitpicks here, right? And it's once again related to performance in one way or another, but they did not fix like any of the game breaking bugs. I'm sorry. And on one hand, I get it. On one hand, I get that it's like, we need to leave some of the wonky and the brokenness because that's like what makes Oblivion Oblivion. Like, okay, I get it. You needed some of the weird wonkiness, but dude, some of these bugs that just like break a quest, that's insane. I lost count of how many times I had to like reload because something broke, or stand there and wait 24 hours to hope that the NPCs would reset and do what they needed to do. And it was very rarely ever my fault. It was like the AI just bugging out. And they didn't fix any of this shit, dude. I had weird stuff where like in one of the Thieves Guild ones where you had to sneak into this castle and steal this like necklace off of the Countess. But what you had to do is you had to like sneak in when she was sleeping. And she puts the necklace, or she's supposed to put the necklace, in the bedstand, in the little lockbox by the bed. But the problem was, if she doesn't get into the right side of the bed, she doesn't put it in the lockbox. And if her husband like goes to bed before her and she has to get in on the left side of the bed, then the necklace won't be there. So stuff like that, there was still just like all these bugs that we had to like Google while we were playing. And then people were still like, I'm finding threads of people a few days ago like, yep, it's bugged. Had to find a way around it. It happened so many times. It was so dumb. So like, did they keep the game true to its identity with bugs? Yeah. But I just would have hoped that they would have went through and cleaned up some of the more annoying game-breaking ones. You'd think they would have, right? But they just didn't, dude. There are ones that were broken in the original that are still broken here. Okay? Crashes. My game crashed. Hard crashed. All the way to the desktop of the PS5 no less than 8-9 times. 8 or 9 times. Which is just so unacceptable, bro. Not even on a PC. On a PS5, it completely crashed almost, maybe even 10 times. It was somewhere between 8 and 10 times. And it seemed like it got worse as I got later into the game, for some reason. The first 3 or 4 days of playing were like without a hitch. And I was having a blast. No performance really, other than the frame rate here and there. But then, somewhere along the way, man, like when I was midway through to the end, it just started crashing and getting buggier. I had this other weird bug that was so annoying where like my saves like just weren't showing. Like I would hit save game and it just wouldn't do it. Whether it was a quick save or a save, didn't matter. But then it turned out like it was saving, but the UI in the save menu was just broken. So it like was invisible and it wasn't showing. Just stupid crap. Stupid crap. So the game is just definitely not perfect, okay? And the reason I'm not going to go into detail about the story here is like we all know Oblivion. I'm not going to just review the story of Oblivion from 2006, but just know that I love it. Huge open world fantasy RPG, and I love the story. Martin Septim, Joffrey, Uriel, it's just the best, okay? It's my favorite one. But mostly the main story worked out pretty good. I feel like a lot of these bugs were in some of the side quests, but like even some of these epic moments that people in the chat were like looking forward to, like, oh, here it comes. And then the NPCs would like T-pose or something and just like ruin the moment. I don't know, man. I just wish they cleaned it up a little bit more, okay? It's like they made everything look great and they added some kind of, good new features for modern gameplay, but they didn't clean up anything else. And that sucks, okay? Weren't we just comparing Avowed to this game a couple months ago because it didn't do any of that? Yeah, you're not wrong. This game kind of does have that problem, like Avowed had with the stuff. It's like some of that, not to that degree. It's better than Avowed. Like I can still interact with items on the table and stuff, but it doesn't follow through to the point where the original Oblivion did. Anyway. The last thing I wanted to say is I think this game's totally worth the money. If you're into open world fantasy RPGs, it's totally worth the money. If you're into Elder Scrolls, obviously worth the money. If you loved Oblivion, totally worth the money. Okay, in every way. Wasn't even full price, right? I think it's like $50, wasn't it 50? 50 or 60? I think it was 50. But you get all the DLC, right? Or maybe not all. What do you get? You get Knights of the Nine, Shivering Isles, which are the two that I care about. So you get this full, big, remastered game with the full, big DLCs. I think it's totally worth the money. But about the DLC, okay? About this DLC, man. For some reason, this entire playthrough, I was so excited, and I'm like, I can't wait to get to the Shivering Isles, Because remember, I haven't played any of these since like 2006 or 2007. So I barely even remembered the plot and things that would happen. And I just had like vague recollections of how they made me feel, okay? And I remember really, really liking the Shivering Isles. So this entire playthrough, I kept talking to the chat and I was like, man, I can't wait till we get to the Shivering Isles. It's going to be good, right? And I loved the whole base game, but I was just really excited to see the Shivering Isles. And so I'm not sure what happened differently here, guys. I'm not sure what hit differently, okay? But I did not like the Shivering Isles as much this time around. I do not even know what to attribute it to. I think it's a culmination of a few things, okay? I think number one, back when I first played the Shivering Isles, I was way younger, and maybe all the goofy wackiness was just like better to me, okay? Number two, when it first came out, I don't think I played it back to back. Like, I'm sure I played through Oblivion and then not for a while, and then Shivering Isles came out, and then I probably played through it, leaving a gap in between or something so I didn't get burnt out. This time, because they came out together, you know, I played through them back to back. I did the base game with a bunch of side stuff, and then I went right into Shivering Isles. So maybe I was kind of burnt out too, but man, for whatever reason, I don't even think it's anything against the Shivering Isles. I think this is a me thing, and I just wanted to say it as a funny anecdote. If you loved the Shivering Isles, you'll probably still love it because it visually looks amazing. I think Sheogorath is still dope, and a lot of that stuff is really cool. But oh my god, it just did not hit the same for me, dude. I was just done with it. Like, I just don't remember, like, 90% of the quests in the Shivering Isles being go underground. Go to this catacomb. Go to this cave. Go to under this tree. And then everything just starts becoming this slog. This tedious... Every quest is like going through a cavern system in the dark. And they all look the same. And I just got so burnt out, man. And then on top of that, everyone's saying their wacky, flubbity-goop dialogue. And like, you know, it's fun at first. It's like Alice in Wonderland, right? But then when I'm getting burnt out, I'm just getting so annoyed. There's like NPCs coming up to me like, skiddly rankle-a-doo, when I skit the cabbage on the floop, what do you think of the drip? And I'm just like, dude, shut up now. I'm so done with it. So I was so done with it. Unfortunately, I just did not like the Shivering Isles as much as I remember liking it, you guys. I still think it's a good addition to the game if you want some DLC, or if you used to like it, you know. It's got the cool, weird Alice in Wonderland thing going on. It wasn't for me this time. Base game kicks ass, though. Loved it. I really did. So this is a big shout out to Virtuos. It's a big shout out to my man Todd Howard. I know he likes to watch a stream. It's a big shout out to Bethesda. And you know what? The game gets a bonus point for dropping the shadow drop with those big nuts like that. That was such a hype drop. Was it not? It got everybody hype. It was so exciting. And then I've done nothing but play Oblivion for the past 2 weeks. So I just think it was great, and they get bonus points for that. Final verdicts, you guys. Get it in the chat. What do you think? Final verdicts, you guys. What out of 10 do you think you give the Oblivion Remaster? Because I'll tell you what I give it. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. I give it an 8 out of 10. That's it. Now, if we're like reviewing Oblivion, like for what Oblivion is, like the original Oblivion and its legacy, that's a 10. But if I'm just reviewing this remaster itself, it is an 8 out of 10. It is definitely one of the better remasters, especially visually. I can't even think of a more impressive overhaul. You know, that doesn't fall into the realm of remake. You know, like I might say something like RE4 or RE2, right? Resident Evil 2. But that's like a full remake, which this is not quite. So within the boundaries of a remaster, this is easily one of the more impressive overhauls visually. Especially given how they did it with these two engines. Very impressive experiment here, okay? 8 out of 10 though. 8 out of 10. Here's why. Way too many bugs. I get it. It's part of the identity, but you remastered the game. You could have fixed a lot of the annoying ones. Definitely. Too many crashes. I'm on a goddamn console. PS5 Pro. 10 crashes or something? No. No. Stupid. Performance. Frame rate dropping way more than it should. Way more than it should, bro. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I love this remaster. It's great, but everything I just said is true. Okay? Frame rate needs to come up. It's a shitty baseline, okay? Other than that, only other bad thing, combat still feels real dated. It does. I know they did a couple things to improve it, you know, with the hit detection and registry and all that, but like it doesn't go that far of a way. It doesn't. So visually it's amazing. Quest and creative wise, it's amazing. The world is amazing. The vibe is amazing. The combat's old and dated. It gets tiring very quick. So if you're somebody that's looking for some exciting combat, this is not it. This is not it. This is serviceable at best. You just stand there and just hit the skeleton and it kind of goes, oh, and then it falls over. It feels very underwhelming. I mean, magic is cool in this game, especially the depth of it, how you can make your own spells. I didn't do any of that really. I did a bunch of melee. None of it hits really hard. You know, Skyrim does a little bit better in that department, but if you're somebody that's mainly here for the tales and the immersion and the fun, you know, storytelling and weird quests and characters, that's when you're going to get your money's worth. That's when you're going to get your money's worth out of this game, you know? And that is what I think will be the biggest contention with new players. Like if you're a new player and it's just like a new game that came out, let's try it out. You're going to be like, wow, this combat sucks, you know? But if you're someone like me that understands that it came from the other game and you've done them both, it's serviceable and the remaster is pretty damn good, you know? So 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. You guys with that? I see a 7.5 in there. Moneyback says 4. Combat is whack. Yeah. I won't go as low as 4. I gotta go 8 because it really, really is a good remaster of a game. But man, it's got some shortcomings. It's not perfect. And 90% of them are related to the performance, the frame rate, the crashing, the bugs. Like if you fixed all of that, I'd be at like a 9. Even with the shitty combat, I'd be at a 9. You know? That's where I'm at. 8 out of 10. I loved it. The nostalgia definitely probably carried me quite a bit. I don't think it was all nostalgia. I really don't. And it's even been so long, I barely remembered half of this. But I liked it a lot. I think it does show that they put a lot of care into a lot of the stuff, you know. They didn't ruin the legacy of their game or anything like that, you know. But it just should have been fixed up a little bit more, and the frame rate should have been more solid, you know, for a remaster of a decades-old game, you know. That's where I'm at, 8 out of 10. But I love it. I do love it, and I know maybe it's a hot take. I like it more than Skyrim. I was just never even able to get pulled into Skyrim like I was with this game. But I had a blast. The last 2 weeks were honestly super duper fun. This is the kind of game I'll probably chill out sometimes and just turn on at night when I'm chilling in bed and just kind of doing a side quest and filling out the map and everything, you know. But that's where I'm at. 8 out of 10. Oblivion, Elder Scrolls 4 Remaster. I think it's more good than bad, but it can be very annoying for sure. All right, guys. That's it. So we're going to be doing something entirely new tomorrow. We're going to be switching it up big time, okay? Big time. Switching gears. So I hope you guys enjoyed Oblivion. Even if you didn't, be happy that we're moving on now. Everybody have a good night. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Enjoy what's left of the weekend, you guys. And we will be back tomorrow for some new debauchery. Okay, adios, you guys. Sherpa.